Well, I'm super excited to talk to you about Masking Threshold. I tweeted last night that it's mad scientist found footage, so I'm
Ah,
very
that's you. That's
that's
you. I
me.
saw it.
That's
I saw it.
me.
I liked it. Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's me. So I'm really excited to talk to you about this movie. And I kind of just, I guess, like jumping off point is like, where did this whole idea for Masking Threshold come from for you?
Okay. So I knew that I wanted to do a film about a guy going insane. So that was pretty much the first idea I had.
Cool.
And I also had in mind I would like to portray that going insane in a different way than it's usually being. Because I mean, people going insane is an old trope in horror films. You know, it's like not
Yeah.
it's not a new thing. And I thought, like, what can I add? What sensibilities can I add to the whole thing? And I was always a huge fan of macro photography and that kind of stuff. So interestingly, before the idea for the tinnitus came, was the idea for the macro photography
Oh,
and
cool.
showing um, uh, so because some people and some critics say like, well, it's just like, like it's just like an audio play with some nice visuals. Interestingly, it was the other way around. I had like all the visuals in my head, and his going insane and kind of like falling into the infinity of his desk and going down the rabbit hole in like which I show with the macro photography. And when I was thinking about what could be a cool way, why does he go insane? And then I did kind of lots of introspections, like what would drive me insane? And I had this moment in my 20s, when I had tinnitus for probably 10 minutes or something like that, a really
Oh,
strong tinnitus that went away after 10 minutes. And I completely forgot about it. And a friend of mine reminded me of that when he said, like, hey, do you remember when you had the tinnitus and you were so freaked out about it? And I think, oh my God, I completely forgot about that. And that kind of triggered the whole thing. Hey, this is perfect because I need something that people know. It's a concept that is like having ringing in your ears is something that people experience all the time. And it's also something that where people have a connection to it because they you can easily envision going insane because of tinnitus. And then I did research about it and bought lots of books, and so all the books and things that you see in the film, I read them all in preparation
oh my
for the
God.
film. And so it's like I'm a nerd, like I dug into the whole thing. And then I thought, like, yeah, that's actually perfect. So because you have the visual representation of the madness because of his like the nerd going negative, the nerd that's not interested in the world anymore, but just like sinking into his desk uh, aspect of the macro photography, and also being able to tell a story that people know. Like doctors don't believe you anymore, so there are so many people who have um, like illnesses that at some point uh, there's no help anymore. Like
Yeah.
the doctor cannot help you. It's just like that's what it is. And what does that do to a psyche
Yeah.
of an already like very traumatized guy? And it doesn't end well, I guess.
Really, no. So I was wondering about like kind of how you went, like what came first, the visuals or kind of the story. And it's interesting to hear the visuals because I mean it really is just like one long inner monologue for
Oh yeah,
most of the
yeah,
movie. And it's almost like puts you in a trance almost because I was experiencing it as like you're kind of falling into his mind.
yeah,
So what was it
exactly.
like to write these long monologues and like kind of did you go mad yourself at
Oh,
all
no,
trying to
no, no,
write?
no, no, no. It's strange. All the people ask me, "What are you smoking?" And I was just like, "Nah." Like, if I would smoke a lot, I would just like I would not be able to deliver. Like it's a very precise and focused thing. And so, I mean, technically, the structure of the whole monologue is almost like an H.P. Lovecraft short
Yeah,
story. And
I
I read a
it was
lot of
very much I was thought about H.P. Lovecraft and, like,
yeah, yeah.
cosmic horror and, like, the gothic
It's
science-y stuff.
exactly. It's my update of that. And of course, I read a lot of Lovecraft when I was like 14 years old or something like that. And of course, I mean the whole debate. I mean, he was a fucking racist, so there's no debate about that. But it was for me, it was interesting because Lovecraft himself was a very early nerd. If you could compare him with one of like the crazy redditors that are
Oh
around.
my god.
And
My fiancé and I talk about that too often because we both, like, read HP Lovecraft and, like, think about him a lot and how it just, like, he really is like an incel on Reddit. Like,
yeah, yeah,
he's just
totally, totally. I mean, in the end, he married he married a Jew, but it also didn't work. So it's just like crazy story like that. Oh my God. Uh, and because he was such a like a kind of strange white supremacist like snob, and but at the same time, like he wrote so many letters. He had thousands and thousands of letters. So that's almost like his tweets when he was communicating with people. And I always found that interesting to have this like strange character like H.P. Lovecraft, who had some, of course, brilliant ideas and cool things. But he, so that the protagonist is like Lovecraft, almost at the same time a victim of circumstances. And I mean, Lovecraft that didn't have a very pleasant childhood, and he was also always dismissed by other writers because they didn't think that his writing was good and all that stuff. So he was a victim, but at the same time, of course, he was a perpetrator at the same time, and that's the same with my protagonist, because he is a victim of his traumas and his past and all his abusive like relations, all that stuff, but at the same time, of course, that doesn't excuse anything that he is
yeah.
doing. So for me it was interesting to see, and I always ask that. Maybe it would be interesting to hear your opinion about that. I always ask people when I do Q&As, what is the point when you really think the guy is an asshole? So when does the, oh my, I kind of relate to him. He's a poor guy. I mean, he's strange, but I feel for him. Uh, and at what point does that end? What do you think?
I feel like the biggest one for me, and it's like this isn't sticking out, is like when he blocked his mom
Oh,
for calling him. I mean, like I
interesting.
think that was really that to me was kind of the moment because like he was just like, "Ugh, stop calling me." But it's like at the same time you can sense the kind of parental trauma going on a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
there,
yeah,
but at the same time he just is very much so easy to just kick someone out of his life.
yeah, yeah,
And we don't have that context obviously, but it just seems so kind of like, fuck my mom and like push her out. I'm like, okay, so this guy's like is very
yeah,
going through some things.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
guess
yeah.
is like the way to put
Yeah,
it.
it's so fun. Some people say, well, like, of course, when he kills the bird, and then I say, like, what? What about the snails? What about why the bird? Why is the bird suddenly like the thing that makes him what? That's
Yeah.
pretty late. That's pretty late in the storyline that you dislike him. And for me, I mean, when I wrote the whole thing, uh, for me, it's the point when he brings his neighbor over and doesn't tell her that he's experimenting on her. That
That's what I was thinking about the neighbor too, and that whole like weirdly implicating her because I like that break because I mean it really is very much an inner monologue and you are very much like we don't see his face. It's like it's all macro, but we see her face and hear her talking, and I like that interesting kind of break.
yeah,
Very brief, but break in the story
yeah, yeah.
and introducing that. It's like why did you want to introduce those kinds of things, those moments into the script rather than just have it be like an unbroken whole monologue?
Yeah, it's fun. Like you also see it like in the reviews and all that stuff. Is that there's definitely. I mean, Ethan is the voice. Ethan like delivered. Like he's the guy putting a soul into that character.
Yeah.
But of course, although she has a screen time of like a minute or something like that. I don't know how long
Yeah.
she's on the screen. Like Katharina Rosa, a good friend of mine who played Dana. She she she's so important. People mention her all the time, although she's just like almost like a side note. But I mean, it's because it's almost his direct connection to the outside world. Because I mean,
Yeah.
he has a couple of internet things going on, and there's the whole thing where he kind of like falls in love a little bit with the Liebenfels guy, but you never know what's going on there. But I mean, he's the one person he somehow interacts with, and he's also very, very mean about that, like how he talks about her, and so the whole thing where he says, for example, that she complied, that he's not, of course, not interested in her romantically, but he's very happy that he complied to be part of the experiment. And the way he just like addresses people, I think I really wanted that. So I like yeah, he's
Well, and he's a gay character. And I know
yeah,
it's like, you know, it's a gay character and that comes to play and not a ton, but I still think it's important. I mean, and as a queer person myself, seeing kind of like a nasty gay character, I
yeah,
love because I feel like queer representation in horror is a whole thing I could talk about for 600,000 years. But like having this queer character, it not necessarily be the whole point of the movie, but have this like underlying identity. Why did you want
exactly.
to have
It,
him
it's
be?
part. It's one fragment of his psyche. It's one fragment of his personality,
Well,
and
and
that's
you bring
exactly
in,
what I wanted to do. Because at the moment, I mean, the main what I so I so many of my friends are queer, and I'm helping with the queer film festival a little bit with curating in Vienna, and and it's interesting, like especially in the queer film scene, there's a little bit of this like complaint that we want to see representation of queer people that are beyond the coming of age story, that are beyond like so what has to happen is that queer characters are just arriving in in the movie sphere without having this like tag on the head saying like, oh, there's the queer character that we now need. It's just like, and that's why I thought like, hey, I need traumatizing elements in this character anyways. And of course, like so many queer people are traumatized because it's just like a fucking, like heterosexist patriarchy. What can I say? So that helps me in assembling that character. But for me, it was always clear that it's not the driving force. I didn't make a film about a gay guy going insane. A guy goes insane and he happens to be gay.
yeah.
That's one aspect. So that was important for me. Yeah.
No, and I loved that because again, like we don't get that a lot. It's like, and you know, a lot of times we're relegated to like the fun best friend or something.
Yeah.
So again, it's refreshing to see any kind of a gross queer character who just happens, who again is a guy going crazy, but just happens to be queer. It's just,
Yeah,
you know,
I
it's
mean, it's just like it's a fact of life that people are different. I mean, they're conservative gays, they're leftist gays. There's so many. It's just like
oh
the
yeah,
there's the that it would the cool thing would be that we don't need that kind of like singling out thing anymore. That
yeah.
that it's strange, but it would be cool if we would live in a world where we don't need queer film festivals anymore because it's so absorbed in everyday life that. But that's utopia, like talking about utopia now. So,
Maybe
but still,
one
yeah,
day,
exactly.
who knows?
One day, yeah, one day. If
Um,
if if, if we don't kill ourselves as a species, one day.
okay, I could talk to you about this movie for hours, but I know we have to wrap up soon. But I guess my last question for you is kind of a sillier one. But if you could do up your perfect double feature with Masking Threshold, what other movie would you pair it with?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh my. So there are a couple of films that for me come to mind when. So I think I didn't actively like think of those films when I wrote the whole thing and when I made those films, but when I watched Masking Threshold when it was done, uh, some of the images just like reminded me of films suddenly that I had seen before. And one of those films is Phase Four. Have you seen that one?
No, I have
It's
not.
it's from the early 1970s. It's by Saul Bass, and Saul Bass is known to be the guy who made the intro segments for all the Hitchcock films.
Yes, 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 yes.
Saul
Okay.
Bass, yeah. And he did one feature film, and it's called Phase Four. It's about intelligent ants. It's about intelligent ants who
Oh,
know math, and they are trapping two scientists in the desert. And it's a really interesting film. And there's also like lots of macro photography in it because of the ants. And when I watched my film, I thought like, that's where the ant, yeah, that's where the ant is coming from. It's Phase Four. And I watched that film when I was like 11 or 12 as a kid. And so Phase Four could be an interesting double feature film. Another film that I really like, uh, also something I saw when I was very young, is Altered States. Do you
oh
know that
God.
one?
Yes.
Altered States with the guy he turns into an ape, but that's also like a super crazy, freaky film. and and I mean, there are some connections there, but not too many. But that could also work. I think altered states and masking thresholds, or phase four and masking threshold, maybe. I'm not
Mhm.
sure. But what would you pair it with? I'm more interested in that.
It's a really great question. What would I pair masking threshold with? Well, so I saw this for the first time actually at the Unnamed Footage Festival in March, that found footage festival, and I think about this a lot as like a kind of hybrid found footage movie. And I was thinking about some of the found footage movies I've seen, like the Poughkeepsie tapes or Long
Huh?
Pig, that are like about someone firsthand documenting kind of their madness. So I was thinking about that kind of movie, a little bit different, a little bit more, but
Mhm.
like first person kind of POV documentation into a descent into hell.
Okay. Oh, another one comes to mind. Pontypool.
Oh my god. Ooh, that would be an incredible one. I love Pontypool. Very
Because
like
Pontypool
cosmic
also
horror-y,
works with,
soundy
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, 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 yeah. So because that like on a sound level, that's interesting. There's also a very reduced setting, and the sound is very important. Well, I probably think that Pontypool would probably be my choice of pairing it with Rat's Nest. So
Oh, okay.
Rat's Nest and Pontypool, I think, are probably a better pairing. But anyhow, so we'll
Cool.
see. I hope that people enjoy the film, uh, and it will end up in double features in the future, and I don't have to choose the thing and just like be be surprised by it. We'll see.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about Masking Threshold. I could have talked to you about this for hours, so I'll find you on Twitter and probably bug you about it again. But thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and yeah, see you on the intertubes.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye bye.